Hey there, and welcome to the Business of Business podcast. Here we are two daughters and their dad, seeking to inspire and educate you to follow your dreams of being in business by teaching you the business of being in business. The good, the bad, the humor are all parts of our unique perspective as an entrepreneurial family. Thanks for joining us. So grab a coffee, turn up the volume. Here we go. All right, we are at podcast 002. This is Staci. I am sitting around the table with Jack and Jennifer. How you guys doing today?
Amazing. Great. How about you?
I'm wonderful.
Awesome.
So I'd like to just jump right into this because there was something in our last podcast that really resonated, at least with the three of us, hopefully with our listeners. And so that was that the number one thing we need to grow our business is people. And yet the number one challenge to our business is people. That was something that you had said to us, Jack. Jennifer was shaking her head. Certainly I'm in agreement. So can you just kind of expand on that a little bit for us? Because we're all in businesses where we are depending on people, right?
Exactly. And I think that when I talk to clients who are business owners and just other folks that are in business or in some type of leadership, that's the common theme, is just the challenge of managing people, leading people, finding the right people to help you in your business. And so I know there was a quote by Michael Dell, who was the founder of Dell Computer, that I've always thought about. And he said, well, when he was asked, what was the one thing that you would do over again? He said, I would have hired good people sooner. And so I think, I would just like for us today to really dive into that a little bit on, how to do that. And if for those especially that are realizing they've got to step into that world and start bringing people or more people onto their team to take their business to the next level, I'd really like to hopefully get some ideas and information out there that will really help propel them and get them to take that next move.
Right. Well, you used the word team, which I think is what most people, if not everybody, ultimately want to build for their business, right? So I know right now you have a team, Jack, of how many people at Dempsey Weiss?
Well, we have a team of somewhere between 25 and 30, and then we have sales associates out in the field of another 25. So we have a lot of personalities out there.
Right. So we would consider that a large team, right? Okay. So Jennifer, now you have a team over there at J.Faith Hair Studio, and where are you guys at right now with your team count?
Yeah, we have 5 stylists, and I have 1 associate that we are training to be a stylist. She's in our training program.
Excellent. Now, when you opened the doors 3 years ago, how many people were on the team?
Me.
Right. Right.
I was the first employee. No, I brought on, how many did we have? 2 other people.
Yeah.
And both people had no clients.
No clients.
The business depended on me and my clientele.
Right. Yeah. And so out of the people that are there now at J.Faith Hair Studio, who have been your day ones? Who's been there since the very beginning?
Yeah, I have an assistant manager who has been with me since day one, and she actually worked with me prior. And, convincing her to take this journey with me was an interesting one.
Awesome. And then so, Jack, I'm just interested to know, or actually be reminded, because I think I was a kid, right? How many people were on the team originally before the 20 to 35 and the other 25 out in the field? How many were on the team?
Well, there was one. and I mean one in addition to Dave, my partner, and I. We hired a lady to, do customer service and to answer phones, and she didn't last long. I mean, we really didn't know what we were doing, in terms of hiring, and so we went through quite a few people early on in terms of staff, but then we got figuring it out, you know, a little bit more of what we wanted it to look like. And then we got a little better at hiring into that.
Right. So you said you kind of figured it out. And so now on the team, I mean, you have a handful of people, probably more than a handful of people that have been with you for 20 years.
Yeah.
25 years,
Right.
15 years. I mean,
Right.
that speaks volumes. You know, there's some people that they just hope they can be in business 15 years, let alone have a handful of employees that have been with them for 15 years or more. So you said you kind of found your groove in the hiring process. What does finding the groove, what does that really mean?
Well, good question. But before I answer that, I want to go back to Jennifer's comment. I mean, I want people to hear the fact, though, that even though she brought a couple people under her team that were pretty green to the business, she wasn't. You know, she brought, you know, a clientele with her. So certainly one of the things that, you know, I would encourage people out there, you know, who are looking, especially in the services business like Jennifer, you know, to when they go to start or launch a business, that they have some base under them, so that, again, they can build off of that. So I think it would be very difficult, almost impossible, if Jennifer didn't have, you know, her clientele, you know, to kind of start her business with. And then, because out of that came more opportunities and referrals that she was then able, I think, to feed, you know, over to, you know, the other stylists.
Yeah. And I think what is amazing too, just 3 years in business, the clientele that I, you know, worked hard for 13 years now is very comfortable sitting in my other stylist's chair. So they don't necessarily have to get their hair done by me any longer. But they are loyal to the business. They're loyal to me. So not only are we, you know, casting a vision for employees, but we had to cast that vision for the clients that come to J.Faith Hair Studio as well.
Yeah. So to answer your question, I think we begin to realize that we needed to determine I determined what I needed to be doing to grow the business. What were 2 or 3 things that I needed to focus my time on, and then look at everything else that was that needed to be done in the business, and then begin to build some job descriptions on, you know, how to fill those responsibilities. And so once we begin to really determine that, then we were able to hire people who were, you know, could do these other things. Now, anywhere from answering the phone to doing filing to then ultimately getting insurance licensed, and then doing customer service at a much higher level. So I think your question was, how do I retain people for over 20 years? And that's an interesting question, because all the folks that I have that have been with me over 20 years came to work for me for less money than what they could have received out in a comparable job. And I think the reason they did it was 2 things. One, I was able to cast a vision that we were a new business and we were seeking to grow, and they would grow with us. And I also found ways that because of where we were at, you know, it would feed into their quality of life, because they could probably go make money, more money somewhere else, but that meant more commuting time, more traveling time, more time away from their family. So we were really had a focus on hiring people that lived close by, that they could also have quality time with their family outside of work. So I think, you know, it was interesting, because then as we grew and got into being able to pay people
right.
what, you know, they could get other places, they haven't been with me for 20 years.
Right. They haven't stuck around. Right.
Because, I just got to the point where I could pay what everybody else was paying. So I dropped the ball on casting vision.
Right.
And I think that it was, casting that vision is what really inspired people to stay with us for the long haul.
Right. Right. And I know that certainly a lot of the business clients that I work with that want to have a team, they want to grow a team. They want to do exactly what you talked about. They want to focus on the things that grow the business and delegate everything else to someone else. But they often sit back and go, but I don't even know how I can afford that. I don't know how I can pay someone. But the thing that they continue to get hung up on, and Jack, you mentioned it, was that they're trying to pay a certain, hourly or commission schedule that might be someone that works maybe in a more urban type of area where we're at. It's very rural. So, they're trying to compare their business and their structure to another business that it's really kind of apples and oranges. And so the casting of the vision, I think what you also did was you reminded people of the things that would be important to them. Like, I'm only going to be a 5-minute drive from home to work and back again, rather than the hour and a half longer drive, where people get hung up on, how much am I going to get paid and what are my health benefits and things like that look like. Well, that's going to also cost me, 4 hours in traveling time every single day because I have to go to a certain place. But Jennifer, you also talked about there's been, one person that's been with you since the very beginning. And you said taking them on that journey with you. So what was that like as far as, as you started talking to someone about taking the journey with you? Was it something like Dad mentioned about casting a vision? You just use different language. So I'm interested to know why what your thoughts on all that.
Yeah. Casting a vision, talking about the journey. I knew opening a business and opening a hair salon in particular that required talent was going to be the most challenging part for me, because I knew, that I was talented at doing hair, but did I have the ability to help other hairstylists become talented at doing hair? And I think that puts yourself in a leadership role. And not everybody is the same way as you. And I can remember working 50 or 60 hours a week behind the chair, and it was nothing, right? And at that point in my in my life or in my career, I was looking for people that was willing to do the same thing that I was doing. If you couldn't put 50 hours and 60 hours in, then you weren't a good fit for me.
Right.
And I think through this journey, and now once I had my daughter, realizing work-life balance is very important to me and important to women in general, because I work with mostly women, and finding a balance of how does that work. So casting my vision now in my business is more about how can we be really amazing hairstylists and also being amazing moms, and not, feeling guilty making the sacrifice at home or making the sacrifice at the salon, and finding that balance. And that has been very successful to where I am now. And so that's really what my vision looks like in the salon. How can moms still come and be hairstylists and make good money and still spend time with their kids? Right. And so that's the vision that we've been talking about recently in the salon.
Awesome. And so you both mentioned something about if someone is not the right fit, or finding the right fit, or, I hired people and, either I was able to pay them a certain amount and they didn't stick around long enough, or, in your case, Jennifer, if they weren't putting in a certain amount of hours because that's what you were willing to do, then they weren't the right type of fit. What has been your experiences in how to handle when you do realize someone is not the right fit? Do you feel like you can identify that much sooner now than you did, a few years ago, or even before you were in business for yourself, Jen? I mean, when you were working in the industry.
It's so hard. So I think you have to figure out what does the right fit mean to you. And just to use an example, for me, I'm looking for super nice people. Like, it seems simple, right? But, again, in my world, we're in a hair salon. If you're not going to be nice to me, then you have to go, right? So figuring out like what is a good fit for you. So I'm looking for really nice people. And then the list goes on from there. But I think the biggest thing I've learned from my dad talking about employees in general is, I tend to hire people very quickly, and then I have a hard time letting them go, right? Because I'm a people person and I tend to like people, but they're just not a good fit for the salon. So I had to take a step back and say, let me slow down on hiring people so quickly and making sure they're a good fit, that first month before I invite them to really come into my company. Right.
Yeah, I think that is critical to be able to find, depending on the type of business you're doing, but to be able to find that simple, 2 or 3 things that, that are what I would call leading indicators that they could go on and do the position well. So in Jennifer's case, obviously she's in the hair business, the service business. Customer experience is critical. So clearly just that initial, is this person just someone that has a lot of hospitality, a lot of welcoming attributes, is a good indicator. If they're bringing people, if clients are coming in and they're not even able to engage them in a conversation, well, chances are they're not going to be the right fit for J.Faith Hair Studio. In our case, many of the folks that we have that have significant roles in our organization, quite frankly, came through as receptionists. I mean, we have a busy phone. You have to juggle that. Clearly, that's the one position where you need to have patience and to be cool under fire because of the fact that phone can be ringing. You could be juggling 2 or 3 lines. You could be someone coming in, meet and greet. So even though that position is extremely important, if we can bring people through that and they can handle that well, then that's a good indication for us that they can handle about anything within our organization with excellence. So finding what that is in your business, I think, is what's critical. To be able to find that you can, use probation periods, make sure again that, you should hire slow, fire fast, as Jennifer alluded to, but being able to find that particular part of your business that you can have people enter into that will really tell you if they're the right fit for your business.
Right. Well, and I think I've seen it in both businesses where, people walked out after the first day. So that made things a little bit easier. Like, obviously you're not going to be the right fit if you can't handle a little bit of pressure from day one. So,
and also on that too, I mean, in our case, and this wouldn't fit for every business out there, but in our case, using even temp services is a great way to bring people in and test the waters, because you can call the temp service and you tell them what you're looking for. They can send people in, and you can quickly see if they're not someone that's going to be a fit. You can see that pretty quickly, and then, quite frankly, just call them and tell them not to send that person back. So it kind of makes the termination a lot easier
Definitely.
to handle. But if you actually go through a hiring process and bring them on as an employee, sometimes you can have a tendency to hang on too long, hoping that they're going to change.
Sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. So the casting of the vision and getting buy-in do you think there's something that's, again, universal that people can, when they're trying to cast their vision, to really truly get buy-in from potential teammates? Do you think that there's something specific that, whether it's in language, whether it's in commission scales or, salary potential, or do you think there's something kind of universal in businesses that, really kind of get people to buy into your business as far as becoming, a teammate?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just about being honest from, the beginning of this is the vision of the company. This is where we're at, and this is where I plan to go. And, their vision almost has to match your vision. Maybe not 100% from the beginning. But as long as, they believe in you and the culture and have some similarities with that, I think that they, are willing to jump on board. And then, the harder part is to continue to cast the vision over time, because people get discouraged. People want things quickly, right? People aren't willing to wait. So making sure that the vision is consistent, and instead of just that one time.
Right. I think that's it. I mean, you cast vision. I mean, that word's thrown around a lot.
Yeah.
Mission and vision. So I think that, as Jennifer said, I mean, having that culture, the critical part of it as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, is that you have to embody the vision. You have to embody the mission, whatever word you want to attach to it. It cannot, and Jennifer used the word consistent. If you're saying one thing and not, doing it yourself, you're going to have a very difficult time for any buy-in. So as the leader, you have to be consistent with the vision. You have to embody it. And I think you have to be very humble when you find that you're not doing it. I remember having a meeting once with some customer service reps, and and there was some things I was aware of that I was not doing, that I had had promised in terms of training and some other things. And so I just went into that meeting and I just started out apologizing that I know I dropped the ball, that I overestimated what I could do, my capacity, and so we went on to do training after I did all of that. And afterwards, I had every one of them come up to me and said, that's probably the most important part of that meeting, was for you to basically just not blow by us, but, really just humble yourself to say, hey, I dropped the ball. And so I think, even when you cast a vision and you find that you're not, again, even though you're trying hard and your goal is not to mess it up, but when you do, just immediately, eat the humble pie and go in there and say, listen, I messed this up. So, but we're going to get it back on track. So I think all those things over time is what gives your team really the confidence that they're at the right place.
Yeah, absolutely. I know in my walk with nonprofit, in the nonprofit world, there is this almost automatic, stipulation that because you are working for a nonprofit, that you are going to be paid less than, maybe what that same job would pay in a for-profit, because you're working for the mission, right? You're working for the betterment of people, or, whatever it is, that, there's a deeper connection. There's an overall, people feel very attached to the purpose of, why am I staying in this maybe certain position, getting paid less than maybe what I could get paid, but they're just very deeply connected to the service that they're doing. And, I think in our for-profit world, it's that very thing. Again, not that, I don't believe in paying not people, whether you're in for-profit or not for profit, what they should, they should be paid what they should be paid. But it's almost in the for-profit world, it's that deep connection that we want people to feel. Where in the nonprofit world, kind of the blessing in it is it kind of comes with the cause. People are there because they want to be there, most likely because they truly believe in what the actual, what the mission is day in and day out. And I think that's in our for-profit life. That's really what we try to get people to be connected to. So that's all just very, very interesting. And I can say, by watching it firsthand, certainly with Dad over the years, just every day, walking the walk and talking the talk. Just, listen, back years ago, it was like a rarity that we closed early. But you know what? Jack was here. Listen, if I'm going to ask everybody else to be here till 4:00 on Thanksgiving Eve, I'm going to be here at 4:00 too. It's just kind of just walking that walk and talking the talk. And I know Jennifer does that as well, with many, many nights just there wrapping up loose ends and making things happen and making sure the next day goes a little bit easier for everyone, long after everybody else has gone home and been with their families and things like that. So that's all good.
Staci, one of the things I know Jennifer struggles with too, and before we wrap up, I want to just hit on this, and that's the difference between a commission-based type of role and a salary. Yeah. And I know one of the things Jennifer and I have talked about in her business is because it is a commission-based business, but especially people are coming into that business not truly understanding that. And so Jennifer, just talk about that a little bit, what's your communication with people on, the long game, I guess, of how to, build a book of business and how much more rewarding that can be, on a commission base.
Yeah. I mean, I spend a lot of time in cosmetology schools, and I think the biggest thing that I've learned is, schooling is still a business, and especially cosmetology school, we're teaching how to do hair, but we're not teaching really how to be in the business of doing hair. So, working with young people coming out of school, they have an expectation of, I'm going to make minimum wage. And going to school and learning how to do hair, and then the only expectation is I'm going to make minimum wage. And that's kind of sad. And I joke with my dad all the time, like, maybe I got into the wrong business. We need to open a cosmetology school next, because I want to teach hairdressers how to make money in life, right? So yeah, I mean, I tell people all the time, isn't it funny that most of the people in my family all make money off commission? And there's not many of us that are salary, and that's like a foreign topic to some people. Some people are like, commission, oh, that's not for me, I'm not a salesperson. And they shut that down very quickly. But I think, again, growing up with my dad and talking about commission, it just, it's hard for some people. There comes some level of sacrifice when you are in a commission-based industry. And how do you talk to employees about that? So when we have clientele, I think the biggest thing, I just talked about this over the weekend, is when you're working with clientele and working on building a book of business, we're talking about building relationships, right? We're not here just, let me cut your hair, I don't remember your name, and I'll see you later, right? It's like, in 13 years, I've been through divorces and adoptions and people my clients having babies, and it's about relationships and people wanting to be connected with you, and that alone is how you build a book of business, at least in my world. So,
and I think the other thing for those business owners out there that are looking to bring people into their business to grow their business, but it's going to be there's going to be a commission component to their compensation. It's critical that you communicate to those folks that they're going to be hearing things from family and friends on, how hard that might be, or, you can make more money over here, with a salary. And they just need to be ready for that. And now if they're married, you need to also make sure that their spouse is on board with it, because obviously those are influences that, even though the person you're bringing on your team might have just a ton of excitement and energy about, but that can be deflated pretty quickly by those around them, especially, and especially when they're seeing other people kind of getting ahead in the short run. So it really takes a strong and consistent communication for your team who are out there trying to help you build your business, and either their compensation or a portion of their compensation is going to be incentive-based or commission-based. So making sure that they, or receive that cautionary tale of watch out for people around you, because they can kind of suck the energy out of you if you're not careful.
Absolutely. And then part of casting that vision is, you know what, we're going to do maybe a lower pay right now with adding commission, on a bonus structure or incentive structure. And if we just see the process through in X amount of time, this is where you could be. Because I know I've been in those meetings where, we're trying to hire agents into the field, and they're taking, a much, much lower pay than what they've been accustomed to. But part of casting the vision has been, but if you stay the course, year 3, year 4, year 5, you could be very well making much, much more money than what you've been accustomed to. But it's going to be that initial sacrifice. It's going to be that we're building something here, casting the vision. We're going to build it alongside with you. Is something that I know both of you, watching you in your businesses, is something that you both have said in your own ways, and in your, with your own employees, and clearly both doing a really, really good job at it. So any final thoughts on this topic of building the team? The number one thing that we need to grow our business is people, and yet the number one challenge in growing our business is people. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's just important for people to know that it is truly the hardest part, and there's no magical solution to the problem other than just keep trying. Especially when you're in a commission-based business, there's going to be a right fit. And, for every 5 people you interview, there's only going to be one right fit, and that's okay. And you just keep on going, keep hiring, keep firing, and until you get the right people, for sure.
Yeah. The only thing I would say to wrap it up is, again, you need to set the example. You need to embody what you're asking other people to do, and continue to remind them that the reason that they're there is so that they can help you focus on those 2 or 3 important things that need to get done for the business to go to the next level. And when we take it to that next level, it's going to be an exciting time, and they'll be glad they were a big part of it.
Excellent. Well, We're going to wrap it up now. Thank you, Dad. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Thank you, Staci.
Yep. We wanted to just let our listeners know that if there's a topic that you want to hear more of, we'd love to hear from you in the comment section below. And so please let us know if there is a specific topic that you'd like for us to discuss. So this will be wrapping up podcast 002. Thanks to everybody for listening. We want to thank you for listening today. Please subscribe so you never miss an episode. Leave us a positive review. And we want to say thank you to our sponsors, Dempsey Waste & Associates and J.Faith Hair Studio.